with slumped shoulders as I opened the door to my apartment after finishing my third part-time job. I returned home, brushing raindrops from my hair, to be greeted by the familiar scene of a cold room and the sound of my mother and sister laughing in the kitchen, both engrossed in their phones. "Oh, Valerie, you're back," my mother Diana said without looking up from her social media feed where she was scrolling through pictures of her friends' successful children. At the table sat my sister Olivia, who had opened her college laptop. Unlike the exhausted Valerie, she possessed a bright, radiant beauty that seemed to illuminate the dim kitchen. "How are you?" Olivia said, but her eyes never left the screen where her law school assignments were displayed. I took off my rain-soaked coat and quietly approached the small kitchen table. This tiny apartment had been home to the three of us since I was 16, since my father died of cancer. A family photo on the wall, showing happier times, stood in stark contrast to our current reality. After her husband's death, Diana drowned herself in alcohol, and although she occasionally worked part-time jobs, it was far from enough to support the household. Her phone pinged with notifications as she compared her life to the curated successes of her online friends. "Olivia, how was the mock trial in law school?" I asked her, genuinely interested despite my exhaustion. "It was wonderful. The professor praised my argument, said it was the best in the class." Olivia looked up for the first time, showing a beaming smile. "And I got accepted for the internship too. All that hard work is finally paying off," she said. "Congratulations." I congratulated her sincerely, remembering her own academic achievements before life took its unexpected turn. Diana embraced her shoulder and proudly said, "My daughter is truly exceptional. Olivia will definitely become a first-class lawyer. Your father must be so pleased in heaven." I smiled, but my eyes reflected a deep sadness. When my father was alive, I too had talked about my dreams for the future, like going to college, studying business, and someday having my own company. I had been at the top of my class, with teachers praising my analytical mind. But with my father's death, those dreams had slipped away. I dropped out of high school in my sophomore year. The family needed income. Diana didn't particularly object to my quitting school. "Valerie isn't suited for studying," she often said, dismissing the stack of honor roll certificates that had once adorned our refrigerator. In reality, I had been an excellent student, but my mother refused to see that reality. For 16 years, I had worked various jobs simultaneously, serving morning coffee at a local cafe, cleaning offices in the afternoon, and manning a convenience store register at night. I did everything with quiet determination. Most of my wages went to the household, covering Diana's medical expenses and, above all, Olivia's education costs. The pile of bills on her splurge grew taller each month. "Look at this, Valerie," Olivia said in an excited voice. "I'm going to Miami with friends during spring break. It's to celebrate getting the law firm internship. We've already picked out the resort." I took several bills out of my wallet and placed them on the table, hiding the fatigue that weighed on my shoulders. "Is this enough?" I asked. "Thank you," Olivia said happily, quickly pocketing the money, but there were no further words of gratitude, as if financial support from me was simply expected, just another fact of life. After leaving the kitchen, I entered my small room. I took a box from under the bed and started up my laptop, surrounding myself with digital marketing books and design sketches. At night, after the family had gone to bed, this was my sacred time when I could finally pursue my own dreams. I had been teaching myself business with remarkable dedication. I took online courses, studied web design tutorials until my eyes burned, and mastered the basics of marketing through countless late nights. 2 years ago, I had launched a small online shop, a site selling handmade accessories that showcased my natural talent for creating elegant, sustainable designs. At first, it was just a few sales a month, barely enough to cover the hosting costs, but gradually the orders began to increase. I skillfully utilized Instagram and Pinterest, testing different strategies and developing my own distinctive brand image centered on environmental sustainability. I never told my family about my growing success. I didn't think my mother and sister would take what they dismissively called my silly hobby seriously. They had never shown interest in my creative pursuits before. 6 months ago, my business took a big leap forward when I collaborated with several influential fashion bloggers. My designs were featured prominently, and orders flooded in faster than I could fulfill them. The profits far exceeded my expectations, allowing me to hire my first employee to manage inventory and shipping. Last month, I had moved out without telling my family, not that they seemed to notice my absence. To Diana and Olivia, I was just the failure daughter, a high school dropout wasting my life without success or direction. Contact between us was kept to a minimum, usually initiated by me. The phone rang, interrupting me as I was sketching a new logo design. It was from Olivia. "Valerie, big news." Her voice trembled with excitement. "Nathan proposed to me. He's the son of the Reynolds family. The wedding is in 3 months. You'll come, of course," she said. I offered sincere congratulations, genuinely happy for my sister despite our complicated relationship. I could also hear Diana shouting in the background, "My daughter is marrying into a prestigious family. Can you believe it?" Olivia continued to talk about the wedding details, a luxurious hotel ballroom, at least 300 guests, and an exclusive designer dress that cost more than most people's monthly salary. "Valerie, make sure you wear something decent to the ceremony," Olivia said with a hint of condescension. "Don't look embarrassing. The Reynolds are very particular about appearances," she added. After hanging up the phone, I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window of her office, gazing at the Boston skyline glittering in the night. The view from the 35th floor was magnificent. This upper floor of the skyscraper had become my new headquarters for elite innovation. On my polished desk lay my business card, embossed with the company's eco-friendly logo and my title as founder and CEO. My family knew nothing about my success, about the magazine interviews or the multi-million-dollar contracts I'd secured. For now, I had no intention of revealing my true circumstances. A small smile played on my lips as I began sketching an emerald green gown, my own design for the wedding. I simply planned to attend my sister's wedding, support her quietly, and perhaps enjoy the irony of the situation just a little. On the day of Olivia's wedding, I stepped into the elevator at the luxury hotel with a gentle smile playing on my lips. I was pleasantly surprised at my own reflection in the mirrored walls. The exquisitely tailored emerald green dress I had designed myself accentuated my refined beauty, with intricate sustainable materials forming a subtle embroidery pattern at the neckline. As I entered the grand ballroom where the ceremony would take place, I was momentarily overwhelmed by the opulence I had secretly financed. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over white roses and silver accents, creating a winter wonderland atmosphere that Olivia had always dreamed about. "Valerie, you came." Turning around, I saw Diana approaching. My mother was dressed in a flashy red dress with glittering costume jewelry adorning her neck and wrists, clearly attempting to look the part of mother of the bride. "Of course, mother. It's Olivia's special day," I smiled kindly, genuinely happy for my sister despite everything. Diana looked me up and down with appraising eyes and said, "Where did you buy that dress? It looks expensive." That scrutinizing glance was as close to a compliment as my mother ever came. "Have you greeted the Reynolds family yet?" Diana asked, already looking past me toward the wealthier guests. "Not yet," I answered. "Hurry and go introduce yourself. It's important to make a good impression on them." "Behave in a way that won't embarrass Olivia as her sister," Diana instructed with a dismissive wave. I nodded quietly, maintaining my composure. I walked around the venue, greeting familiar faces, old high school friends who remembered my academic achievements, former neighbors, and relatives from my mother's side. When asked about my current life, I would vaguely answer, "I've started a small business," watching as interest quickly faded from their expressions. After the sumptuous lunch that I had arranged with the 5-star catering service, it was time for the reception. The groom, Nathan, was a tall, imposing man with intelligent eyes filled with love as he gazed at Olivia. Olivia, dressed in a pure white designer gown that cost more than most cars, looked exactly like the perfect bride she had meticulously planned to be. "Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the toast," the MC announced through the crystal-clear sound system. "First, let's hear a few words from the bride's mother, Mrs. Harlow," the MC said. As the venue fell silent, Diana walked to the stage with confident steps and took the microphone, a beaming smile plastered across her face. "Thank you all for gathering here today for my daughter Olivia's wedding," Diana said with practiced charm. "I am truly a blessed mother to have such a wonderful daughter and to see her being welcomed into the prestigious Reynolds family today." Diana paused dramatically and looked around the venue. When her eyes stopped on me, her expression changed subtly, hardening at the edges. Let me tell you all a little secret. She changed her tone of voice, continuing with false lightness as if sharing an amusing anecdote. Actually, the bride Olivia is my only real daughter. A few uncertain laughs spread through the venue as guests exchanged confused glances. Diana, emboldened by any reaction at all, raised her voice even more. Some of you may know my other daughter, Valerie. Where is she? Ah, there she is. Diana pointed directly at me. Suddenly, the venue's spotlight swung toward me, flooding me with harsh light as hundreds of eyes turned in my direction. My body stiffened involuntarily under the scrutiny. She is not really my daughter in spirit, and honestly, she's been nothing but a disappointment, Diana said with a cruel laugh. No advanced degree, no husband, high school dropout. She has absolutely nothing going for her, very different from my brilliant Olivia, isn't she? She said. The venue filled with uncomfortable, awkward laughter. Most guests had confused or horrified expressions and exchanged concerned glances with each other. I felt my face flushing hot with humiliation, but I maintained a dignified expression, my years of enduring similar treatment helping me keep my composure. But today is the day to celebrate my pride and joy, Olivia, Diana continued, pleased with herself. She graduated from a prestigious university with excellent grades, built a wonderful career in law, and now becomes a member of one of Boston's finest families. I couldn't be prouder. As Diana was about to put down the microphone, Olivia stood up and said with forced cheerfulness, Mom, may I say something? She went on stage and took the microphone from her mother, wearing what appeared to be a smile but looked more predatory upon closer inspection. Everyone, you may have been surprised by my mother's words, Olivia said with practiced charm. But Mom, don't tease my sister too much. She might cry like she always does when things get difficult, Olivia added. More uncomfortable laughter rippled through the venue. I remained seated quietly, staring at my wine glass, my fingers tightening almost imperceptibly around the stem. Actually, my sister has always helped me, Olivia continued with a voice dripping with false gratitude. How dedicated she was. Working those little jobs, doing whatever she could so I could go to college, even giving up her own dreams. Wasn't that sweet of her? Olivia's words seemed to convey gratitude on the surface, but her tone held a cutting edge that sliced through any sincerity. So today, I want to express my gratitude to my sister, because I'm here partly thanks to her sacrifices. Isn't that what family is for? Olivia looked directly at me, her eyes revealing a complex storm of emotions, guilt battling with superiority, resentment mingling with a hint of fear. I slowly stood up from my seat. The venue's attention shifted like a wave as hundreds of eyes turned toward me. I began walking toward the stage with measured steps, my posture radiating a quiet dignity that seemed to transform the atmosphere around me. Olivia's expression clouded with sudden uncertainty. She had clearly never expected such a response from me. I had always endured the barbs and insults in silence, never once fighting back against the family narrative. As I ascended the steps to the stage, Olivia instinctively stepped back, suddenly diminished by my composed presence. I took the microphone from her hands with deliberate slowness, my face bearing a gentle smile that held no trace of bitterness. The grand ballroom fell into a complete, breathless silence. Diana's face drained of color, anxiety replacing her previous smugness as she watched this unexpected turn of events unfold. I held the microphone with graceful confidence and calmly surveyed the entire venue. There were no tears in my eyes, no trembling in my hands. Only a quiet determination that commanded attention more effectively than any shout could have. Now, I said, my voice though soft somehow filling every corner of the vast room, let's begin the real celebration. I stood motionless on stage, commanding the space with quiet authority. The atmosphere in the venue had transformed completely, the uncomfortable laughter from moments earlier had evaporated into stunned silence. My emerald green dress, illuminated by the stage lights, created an almost ethereal glow around me, highlighting the quiet dignity of my presence. Diana tried to grab my shoulder to pull me away, but I gracefully sidestepped the attempt. Olivia watched me with an expression that betrayed conflicting emotions, fear mingling with reluctant curiosity, as if witnessing a side of me she'd never imagined existed. I brought the microphone to my lips and began speaking in a measured, composed voice that carried throughout the room. Today, I am truly delighted that my dear sister Olivia has exchanged eternal vows with the person she loves. I wish them a lifetime of happiness together. My voice contained no trace of anger or sarcasm. It was a genuine blessing, spoken from the heart. The palpable tension in the venue eased slightly as guests relaxed their shoulders. As some of you may know, our family has faced significant challenges since our father passed away. Our path has not been an easy one. I took a deep breath, my eyes momentarily gazing into the distance as if looking at a screen projecting memories from years past. When I was 16, my father was suddenly taken from us by cancer. In that moment, everything we knew changed completely. My voice trembled slightly with genuine emotion, but I quickly regained my composure, standing tall. I made the decision to drop out of high school during my sophomore year. Many of you might assume, as my mother has often stated, that I simply wasn't suited for academics, I said. I looked directly at Diana, whose face was rapidly turning a deep shade of red. But the reality was different. I quit school because our family needed financial support. After my father's death, my mother struggled with grief and was unable to maintain our household financially. My sister Olivia still had a bright future ahead of her, and I was determined that she should have the best education possible, regardless of our circumstances. I slowly looked around the venue, making brief eye contact with guests who were now listening with rapt attention. I worked 3 jobs simultaneously, serving coffee at a local cafe every morning at 5 a.m., cleaning office buildings throughout the afternoon, and manning a convenience store register until midnight. I averaged 4 hours of sleep daily. I smiled softly, without bitterness. Yet I never considered myself unhappy, because knowing my earnings could help my sister attend a prestigious university and study law was deeply fulfilling. I was also able to cover my mother's medical expenses during some difficult times, I continued. Diana had now completely lost color in her face, mouthing and "stop it" desperately to me while glancing anxiously at the Reynolds family, who were watching with intense interest. As my mother pointed out, I am indeed a high school dropout. I have no children. I've never been divorced because I've never married, I laughed softly, inspiring a few genuine chuckles from the audience. But whether those facts make me a failure or not, I'll leave to your judgment. I personally take great pride in the path my life has taken, I said. I paused briefly to take a sip of water, the entire room hanging on my next words. I'd like to share something with all of you today. This beautiful wedding celebration that we're enjoying. I'm the one who financed it, I said. The venue erupted in astonished murmurs. Olivia stood frozen, her mouth open in shock, her perfectly applied makeup unable to hide her disbelief. When Olivia called to tell me about her engagement, I was genuinely happy for her. I've always wanted my sister to find joy, I continued with sincere warmth. I wanted to help her have the celebration she'd always dreamed about, with all the luxury and beauty she deserves. You must be wondering how someone like me, a high school dropout, could possibly afford to fund such an extravagant event, I smiled, confidence radiating from me. 7 years ago, I started an online business selling handmade, sustainable accessories. What began as a small shop run from my bedroom has grown exponentially. Today, Elite Innovation partners with numerous Fortune 500 companies on eco-friendly design initiatives, I said. Gasps and exclamations of surprise rippled through the astonished crowd. Our company is committed to innovative design and environmentally responsible manufacturing methods that don't compromise on quality or beauty. We've pioneered several sustainable production techniques that have changed industry standards, I said. From the corner of the venue, a distinguished elderly gentleman rose to his feet. His presence commanded immediate attention from everyone in the room. Miss Valerie Harlow, the gentleman's authoritative voice carried clearly across the ballroom. Are you truly the founder of Elite Innovation? The same visionary entrepreneur who was featured on the cover of last month's business magazine? I nodded calmly, my composure unwavering. Yes, that's correct. You must be Frederick Reynolds. It's an honor to meet you, sir, I said. The venue buzzed with even more excited whispers. Frederick Reynolds, Nathan's uncle, was renowned as one of America's most influential business leaders, whose opinion carried tremendous weight in financial circles. I've followed your company's remarkable growth with great interest, Frederick continued, genuine respect evident in his tone. Your pioneering work in sustainable fashion has created a new paradigm for the entire industry. I believe your company's revenue exceeded $100 million just last year. I smiled modestly. We're still very much a growing company with much to learn, I said. The atmosphere in the venue had completely transformed. People who had been looking at me with pity and condescension moments ago were now gazing at me with newfound respect and undisguised amazement. Diana had turned deathly pale, almost collapsing into her chair as her carefully constructed narrative crumbled around her. Olivia just stood dumbfounded, her perfectly applied makeup unable to hide her shock. I brought the microphone back to my lips, my demeanor still humble despite the revelation. I don't particularly want to discuss my business success today. This is Olivia and Nathan's special day. I turned toward the bride and groom with genuine warmth. I'm speaking here only because I felt it was important to share one thing with all of you, the truth, I said. I took a deep breath and surveyed the entire ballroom, my gaze steady and clear. The reason I left high school was for my family's survival. The reason I worked 3 jobs simultaneously for years was to ensure my sister could have the best education possible. And the reason I kept quiet about my success was. I hesitated briefly, emotion finally breaking through my composed facade. It was because I was constantly torn between wanting acknowledgement for my achievements and not wanting to disrupt my family's perception of themselves, I continued. For the first time since taking the stage, tears welled up in my eyes, but I made no move to wipe them away, standing tall with quiet dignity. I have always loved my mother and sister, even during the times they dismissed me as a failure. I never resented giving up my initial dreams for them, because to me, that's what family truly means, supporting each other through difficult times, I said. The venue fell into a profound silence. Tears glistened in the eyes of many guests, moved by my words. Eventually, I came to understand that my own life also deserved to be lived fully. So 3 years ago, I finally moved out and began forging my own path, relying on my own strength and determination. I discovered that the skills I had developed during those years of sacrifice had prepared me perfectly for entrepreneurship, I continued. My gaze softened as I looked at Olivia, my eyes reflecting genuine care despite everything. Olivia, you are my sister, and I care deeply about you. I've always wished for your happiness, and I sincerely congratulate you on your marriage. Turning to Nathan, I added, please take care of my sister. She deserves happiness. Addressing everyone, I concluded, this is my journey, from high school dropout to who I am today. I have no regrets, as every challenge shaped me. I said. Applause began with one person, then spread throughout the ballroom until an extraordinary silence fell. As I prepared to leave, Diana grabbed my arm forcefully. Why are you telling such lies? Who would believe you're successful? My mother demanded, voice shaking with rage. Mom, everything I've said is true, whether you believe it or not, I responded calmly. Diana shouted, face flushed, I raised you. How could a high school dropout become a CEO? It's absurd. Frederick Reynolds approached, his presence commanding attention. Mrs. Harlow, your daughter's success is factual. My firm works directly with elite innovation, featured in Forbes as a top 10 fastest growing sustainable business, he said. Diana stood speechless while Olivia approached hesitantly. Is it true? You paid for everything? She whispered. I nodded gently. I wanted you to have your dream wedding, I said. Tears welled in Olivia's eyes. But we always treated you, she said. Even as just a dropout, I loved our family, I said quietly. I gave up my dreams for yours. I still wish for your happiness. My words resonated throughout the venue, touching many hearts. I left to reclaim my life, to succeed on my own, but today I learned how you truly see me, I continued, a single tear falling. Still, I don't resent you, because family remains family. Diana stood frozen while Olivia cried openly. Nathan approached, placing his hand on Olivia's shoulder. What I've heard about your family and what I've witnessed today are completely different, he said, his words carrying clearly. When Olivia tried to speak, Nathan gently interrupted, not now. Turning to me, he bowed respectfully. Valerie, you possess true strength and love. I'm ashamed I didn't know until today, he said. Seeing the tension, I gracefully took the microphone again. Today is for celebration, not sadness. Let's celebrate Olivia and Nathan's beginning. I raised my glass in toast. The reception continued with a changed atmosphere, Diana isolated in humiliation, tension between the newlyweds, and I answering guests' questions with humility. Later, Olivia approached me, makeup streaked from crying. I'm sorry, she said in a broken voice. Olivia, I don't need your apology, I said. But I must give it, Olivia insisted. I've been a terrible sister, never appreciating your sacrifices, she said. I took her hand in forgiveness. The past is past. What matters is what we do from now on, I said to her. We embraced as spring sunshine illuminated Boston, the season of new beginnings. 1 year had passed since the wedding. From my office window on the 40th floor, the Boston skyline stretched out before me. Elite innovation had flourished, becoming a leader in sustainable fashion. I reviewed a proposal for a foundation to help disadvantaged young entrepreneurs, something I was deeply passionate about. Miss Harlow, your 2 o'clock interview has arrived, my assistant announced. Thank you, please show them in. Standing by the window, I reflected on the year's changes. My relationship with Diana had briefly improved after the wedding, but quickly deteriorated when my mother began making escalating financial demands. When I established boundaries, Diana reverted to her cold attitude. Now isolated socially, Diana occasionally muttered, "That's not really my daughter," but no one believed her anymore. Meanwhile, Olivia and Nathan's marriage had crumbled. The wedding revelations had created an irreparable rift. Despite Olivia's efforts, they were now separated and near divorce. My thoughts were interrupted by my office door opening. It was Olivia, noticeably thinner with dark circles under her eyes, but with newfound determination in her gaze. May I come in? She asked quietly. I welcomed my sister, who glanced around the impressive office before composing herself. Nathan and I are separating permanently, she said without pretense. I took her hand supportively. But that's probably for the best, Olivia continued with new maturity. I needed to understand why I became who I was, she added. With genuine self-reflection, she said. I now understand what you sacrificed for our family. I don't expect forgiveness, but I wanted you to know I see it now. Tears welled in my eyes as I embraced her. Olivia, it's never too late to become a real family, I said. Outside, spring sunshine bathed Boston in golden light, the season of